Our first guest tonight is an Emmy Award-winning actress and comedian you know from her work in Girls Trip and The Last OG. Please welcome back to the show our very good friend, Tiffany Haddish.
Tiffany, I'm always so happy to see you. You are such a positive person. I believe you to be an optimistic person. You're a very funny person. It must be so difficult for you to find the way to talk about this moment that we're living through.
It's extremely difficult. You know, Seth, I like to think of myself as an administrator of joy, someone who, when I come into a scene, any worries or woes that you might have can be alleviated or removed. But during this time, it has been so difficult for me to express any kind of joy or bring any kind of happiness or anything, because I'm literally sitting back watching the world fall apart, what it feels like. And it feels like it needs to fall apart. Things need to fall apart and be put back together again in a way that's fair.
You were at George Floyd's funeral in Minneapolis, and what was it like being there? What made you decide to go? Were you happy in the end that you went?
Okay, so I decided to go because I was invited, right? I was invited to be there. And the main thing that made me want to be there, mind you, I ain't been nowhere, okay, in months. But the thing that made me really want to be there is I have watched my friends be slaughtered by the police. I have watched people be murdered in front of me as a 13-year-old, 14-year-old girl, you know, and there was nothing I can do except, no, don't do that. Just yelling out. What is that? Like, and so I wanted to be there in support of the family because I understand how they feel. And being there was like being there for all my friends whose funerals I already went to, but all my friends who passed away, all the people that I went to school with who've passed away have been locked up for no reason, just because they can't afford a good lawyer or, you know, accused of things that they didn't do. And being there was so powerful because I did not know it was going to be televised. I had no idea that it was going to be televised. I thought there would be cameras outside or whatever, but that was my first time walking into a funeral that was televised, and a funeral of someone who was killed by a police officer, you know, and I thought that was really tremendous. And I remember I was like, Kevin, put your mask on. Y'all need to put your mask on. Nobody wanted to put their mask on. I don't know why. But put your mask on if you sit next to me. They didn't want to put it on. But Will Packer put his on. And, you know, the eulogies that were given were so powerful. It was a great message. And I cried so much. I cried so much. I was crying so much. And it was like tears of not just for Floyd, but for all of those people that passed away, and all of my friends and my family members that are locked up. And like, it was just like all the tears that I ever wanted to cry were coming out, and I was trying to swallow them. And when they had that moment of silence, that 8 minutes and 46 seconds of silence on that stage, and I'm standing there next to one of the mothers of a victim, and I'm the quietness. And then the thought of, what if someone's knee was in my neck for this long? How helpless were my friends when they were being attacked? You know, I just couldn't, the tears, I was trying to swallow, and it was coming out through my nose, and my mask was full of snot. And I was like holding it, trying to like keep the snot off my mouth, but ain't no holding it. And I wasn't gonna take it off because I didn't want to look like a scene out of a bad movie. And I just, the pain, the amount of pain that I felt was tremendous. And as we're leaving out of there, and you know, people are like, oh, they already tweeting about you. They already tweeting about you. And I'm like, I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything. And already being like attacked. And I'm like, it's not about, I don't care if they're tweeting about me. If they're tweeting about me and that's bringing more attention to what's going on right now, great. But when I took that mask off and all that snot was all over in here, that was not okay. But the next day, my skin was so soft all from here. So I found out about snot facials.
There you go. So there's at least one very tiny, tiny positive.